Yes, so we're off to our next speaker, Geoff Woods. Totally different topic, but equally important and exciting. Geoff is the #1 best-selling author of The AI-Driven Leadership, host of the AI-Driven Leadership podcast, and the founder of AI Leadership and the AI-Driven Leadership Collective, a highly vetted network of executives collaborating to harness AI to build better businesses and better lives. As the former growth officer of Jindal Steel and Power, Geoff's strategic leadership helped the company grow its market cap from $750 million to over $12 billion in just 4 years. Prior to that, he co-founded the training and consulting company behind The One Thing, advising businesses ranging from $10 million to $60 billion in annual revenue. Welcome, Geoff.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here with everybody today. What if the biggest threat to your business was not the competition? It was your own thinking. This is something that a group of CEOs discovered firsthand. I was presenting at a chapter meeting and I asked a question, which is, what are the biggest challenges you are facing in your business right now that if we could solve them would unlock a completely new level of growth for you? For a guy who wrote a book about AI, I don't care about AI. I care about you as a leader building a better business and a better life. So if we're going to talk about AI, I want to focus on something that matters. So that question was strategic. One CEO looks at me and he goes, I've got a really good one. I run a manufacturing company. I leased all this equipment from a company in Japan, but things have shifted in the market. The debt is now killing us. We're going to go bankrupt if it doesn't get restructured. And I look at him and I'm thinking, is this a 20% problem that if we can solve it is going to drive 80% of the value? Resounding yes. And so I asked him what he had done. And he says, I feel like we've tried everything. And he lists off 5 very strategic things he had tried to get the board to restructure the debt. And he says, Geoff, none of it has worked because this is a public company in Japan. They think if they restructure the debt, they're going to lose face in Japanese society. So they're refusing to do it. I have no next step. We're probably going out of business. Can AI help? That's the right question, folks. And I pulled up ChatGPT and wrote the exact next prompt, following a very specific framework, which is context, role, interview, task. You should take a screenshot of this or put this on a sticky note, literally with a Sharpie. This will change the game for how you communicate with AI. And here was the exact prompt. Context, I'm a manufacturing CEO. I leased all this equipment from a company in Japan. Things have shifted in the market and the debt is now killing us. We're going to go bankrupt if we don't get it restructured. We feel like we've tried everything. And then I listed all 5 strategies he had deployed. None of it has worked because this is a public company in Japan and the board is refusing to restructure the debt because they think they'll lose face in Japanese society. I have no alternatives and I feel we're going out of business. Role. Your role is to act as an investment banker with deep expertise in restructuring debt. And here's the key. Interview me. Ask me 1 question at a time, up to 3 questions to gain deeper context so you can accomplish the task of generating 5 non-obvious strategies I could deploy to get the board to restructure the debt. Now, instead of asking AI an average question like, how do I get a Japanese board to restructure the debt? This prompt forced it to act as an investment banker with deep expertise in restructuring debt. It turns the tables and asks this question. Do you have any relationships with other executives in Japan that this board would respect? I look at the CEO and he goes, oh my gosh, I would have never asked that question. I actually do. And we put the answer into AI and it asks 2 more questions just like that. And it comes back and it says, here's your 5 non-obvious strategies. Number 1, it called the Saving Face Consortium. It said, you have enough relationships with the right people in Japan. Approach them to acquire the debt. Give them really favorable terms. Your debt will get restructured. The board will save face. This is one of those Forum Confidential moments where I turned to him. His whole body language has shifted. And he's literally holding back tears. He looks at the people in the room and he says, I haven't slept in 90 days. I've literally been making peace with the fact that we are going out of business. And in less than 10 minutes, I got hope. I will always remember a few months later when I get a text message and it said, the ball is moving. I actually think this is going to get done. Your ability to think strategically is the difference between growing your business or going out of business. The problem is most people are looking at AI and thinking of it like it's this tool that's going to save their business, when I'm going to say to you, the tool has never been the thing that makes the difference. It's the leader who harnesses it. I'm going to show you how to do that today. Now, my journey to strategic thinking began back at university. I went to UC Santa Barbara, and my senior year, I did an internship. I sit down with the CEO right before graduation, and I asked him what job I should get after school. And he looked at me and he said, Geoff, you're asking the wrong question. It's the first time in my life I was introduced to the power of asking the right questions. And he looks at me and he says, you should be asking, what are the skills I can master that are so valuable they'll serve me no matter where I go? Then what jobs will help me develop those skills? Based on my personality, I went into sales, made my way into entrepreneurship pretty early on by partnering up with a guy named Gary Keller, started a large real estate company called Keller Williams. He's a multi-billionaire. He wrote this book called The One Thing. And the problem was the one thing had taken off. They wanted to turn it into a company, but Gary's one thing was running KW. They needed somebody whose one thing was the one thing. That became me. And the thing that I had to learn, I had to master the art and science of asking strategic questions to leaders to get them to go from all the things they could focus on down to the things they should focus on. And so I ended up leading strategic planning for a very large logistics company. You all get your packages from them. I took them from a 21-page business plan down to one. How do you create so much focus that you can align a workforce of 500,000 people to a single page? This became a superpower of mine. By 2022, I sold my stake in the business, had a 2-year non-compete, went in-house with Jindal Steel as chief growth officer. And I focused on 4 things: strategy, execution, people, and technology. And this is relevant for every single EOer watching this. Strategy is the competitive advantage you're building in the long term through the actions you take in the short term. Execution is about having a focused strategic plan for the next year that puts you on track for the moat you want to own. Then people, this is a good one. The purpose of your people is to achieve your goals. Your goals change every year, but the job descriptions of your people do not. You have an inherent lack of alignment. I wanted to realign the workforce, which we had about 100,000 people globally. And then technology. How do we harness technology to make this possible? As you can see, we were wildly successful. The market cap went from $750 million to $12 billion. And during that journey, I saw ChatGPT for the first time. When I saw it, I think like a lot of EOers, how many of you put yes in the chat box if you thought, okay, I know this is the future, but I'm so busy, I'll get to it later. Or you know what? I'm going to delegate this to somebody on my tech team. If that's you, put me in the chat box. Trust me, folks, I felt the same thing. But then there was the side of me that said, focus on mastering the skills that are so valuable. They'll serve you no matter where you go. And so I dove in. Pretty quickly, I realized writing a better email with ChatGPT was a waste of time. But then I asked myself a different question. How can I use this to elevate my ability to think strategically or make faster, smarter decisions? That was a game changer. I was in India every quarter. I was at the chairman's house and I made the pitch. I said, this is the future. And he goes, I agree. We should drive this through the whole company. I agree. I think this is so important. You know, this is chairman of the board. I disagree. You do it. I immediately committed, walked out of his house and said, I have no idea what I'm doing. But then I remembered a quote I learned from Gary Keller. Anytime you're hitting a ceiling of achievement, you're just missing a person. And so I ended up partnering with Google. And every quarter when I was in Delhi, I'm at their headquarters and they taught me everything about the technology. And then I realized there was a much bigger problem because all these tech and consulting companies are pushing AI on you as a solution looking for a problem. True or true? Put true in the chat box. Folks, it's backwards. AI adoption is not your goal. Building a better business and better lives is your goal, but no one was focusing on the difference that made the difference. You. And so that's what I set out to do. I resigned January 24 and wrote my book, The AI Driven Leader. It quickly hit #1 in the world and built a company called AI Leadership, focusing on the intersection of you as a leader, how you have to think strategically, and how you can harness AI to help you do so. But I realized something, which is that your real advantage with AI is not in trying to know all the answers about it. It's in surrounding yourself with the right people, asking the right questions, and unlocking collective knowledge. And this insight was a huge strategic decision for me. Instead of trying to build a tech product or a consulting company, I said, I want to create a network of the world's most talented AI-driven leaders who are all non-technical, but they care about strategy. And if we can get them in the room and if we can ask the right questions, we will unlock collective knowledge that we can share with everyone, so we are always ahead of the curve while other people are just trying to catch up. So everything I'm about to share with you here today comes from that position of the things I have learned from standing in the room. Every EOer knows AI is the future. The problem is they don't know where to start, and then they think they're falling behind. If that resonates with you, put me in the chat box. If you're like, I know I got to do something with this, but I don't really know where to start. No one has shown me how to go from 0 to 1. Folks, that is what we are doing here during this 30-minute session. And here's the good news. Even if you feel like you are behind, you can still win. While there are people that are further ahead than you, the race is not over. And you are in this window in time that if you lead, if you make a commitment to driving this in your organization, not to be the chief AI officer, I don't need you to become the technical expert. I need you to be the strategic leader. If you are willing to do that, you can still win. Now, right now, most people are using AI one of two ways. One is they're treating it like Google. They're asking it questions and then they're just getting answers. Or they're treating it like an assistant where they're delegating tasks to it. Now, both of these, tell me, does this bring value? Put a yes or no in the chat box. Does it help? Absolutely. The challenge is it's 80% of the stuff that drives 20% of the value. I have built a career on helping executive teams focus on the 20% priorities that drive 80% of the results. I'm just going to turn that on its head for you right now. And this requires that you redefine your relationship with this technology. It is not your Google. It is not your assistant. It is your thought partner. But it requires you to be the thought leader. This is one of the most important things you can take from this. You are in the driver's seat, buckled in. You get to engage AI as a thought partner. You do not just copy and paste or trust the information it gives you. You apply your human judgment and you lead. This is the formula for engaging AI as your thought partner. Context. You give it tons of context. Role. You assign it a persona so that you can tap into expertise that you do not have. But then this is the differentiator between me and most people. I don't ask AI questions. I turn the tables and have AI ask me the right questions by telling it to interview me. Ask me one question at a time, up to 3, 4, 5 questions. If this is your first time hearing about turning the tables and AI interviewing you, put a #1 in the chat box. Otherwise, give me a #2. That way I can just see where we're at right now. Okay, fantastic. And all of this is so it can gain deeper context so then it can accomplish a task. Here's a real use case. I have a CEO that's in our AI-driven leadership collective. We've been working toward an exit in the next 2 years. And the biggest challenge that they face is they have a hostile board. How many of you have a board out of curiosity or investors? If so, put me in the chat box. If you don't, just give me a question mark. That way I can just see the split between people. He gets a call from the chairman and the chairman says, this is going terrible. You've got 2 board meetings to turn this around, 6 months or you're all gone. And he comes to me and goes, Geoff, I don't even know what to do. Can AI help? This is the right question. And so I wrote a prompt. I literally pulled the whole executive team on Zoom, pulled up just ChatGPT, context, role, interview, task. Context, I'm the CEO of this company. We've been working toward an exit in the next 2 years, but our biggest obstacle is a hostile board. Literally half of my team's time is wasted by board shenanigans. I just got a call from the chairman of the board. He told me if I don't turn this around in 6 months, we're all gone. Your role is to act as an HR professional with deep expertise in creating personality profiles. Interview us. Ask as many questions as you need to ask till you can understand one of our board members named Susan on a deep level. Once you understand her, your task is to create a personality profile for her. AI conducts the interview and it spits out a profile. And as thought leader, they applied their judgment and made some tweaks. We repeated that for every single board member. Then with a few clicks of a button, we created a custom GPT, fed it the personality profiles of every director, and told it that its job was to be our AI board. That its task was to review our deck before the meeting and simulate how every director could respond to every slide and highlight the landmines that are going to blow up in our face and cause all the bloodshed. To test it, we took a deck from the past. We know what happened in that meeting. We pulled it in and said, give us your feedback. In 2 seconds, it had read over 60 slides as every board member, and it started saying, on slide 8, Susan's going to get distracted by the granularity of the details of the slide. This is going to derail your entire agenda, and it's going to take 30 minutes off the clock. Instead of all these details, just say these 3 things because it's what she cares about most. I look at the CEO and he goes, that is exactly what happened. Now it gets better. With the board's permission, we started using an AI note taker in the board meetings, meaning we have a transcript of what every single board member has shared. We fed the transcript back to the AI board and said, compare what you had simulated to reality and adjust the personality profile so you could have simulated reality. It only took 2 board meetings for the board to come back and say, these are the best meetings we've ever had and the best decks we've ever seen. And in terms of, can you get these prompts? Every single one of these prompts is in the book, as well as a comprehensive prompt library at the end. And I have an AI thought partner on our website at AI Leadership that has been trained on every prompt and all 304 pages of the book so that you can just go engage with it right now and it will act as me. Here's your shift, folks. I'm telling you to shift away from focusing on the tactical use cases that are 80% of your tasks that only drive 20% of your results, and start focusing on the strategic 20% priorities that drive 80% of the results. You and we're using the same tool. We're just using it differently. And the difference that makes the difference is your ability to identify a strategic use case, your ability to communicate effectively with the technology, context, role, interview, task, and then your ability to stay in the driver's seat as the thought leader. Bottom line, you have to ask the right questions. This is a timeless leadership skill that is timely when it comes to AI. You want to see it done live? If so, put me in the chat box. If you want me to do it live, put me in the chat box. Okay, here we go. So let's do. This is going to be fun. How many of you have a strategic plan for this year? You have a business plan? If so, put me in the chat box. Okay, good. So here is what I'm going to show you. Come out of here. So here's what I have done. I have taken a real strategic plan from a CEO in the AI-driven leadership collective. Last year, they did 50 million in revenue. This year, they want to do 100 million in revenue. In 3 years, they want to do 300 million in revenue. Now, I want to ask you, how many of you put a number 1 in the chat box if you already have a process for once your strategic plan is created, you have a process to bulletproof it, to challenge every assumption, every sufficiency, to make sure that it includes everything that's required and cuts the crap of the things that don't matter. If you have that process, give me a number 1. If you don't have that process, give me a number 2. Let me just see where we are at. I'm going to show you how you can get AI to do this to your strategic plan right now in the next 5 to 7 minutes. Sound good? Interested? Let's go. Here's the prompt. I immediately put in context, role, interview, task and I put them in all caps and I put a hashtag before and after. That's called a delimiter. That way AI can just clearly see what it is. So here's the actual prompt. Attaches a strategic plan for a company in the collective. We've had 70% year-over-year growth the last 4 years. My job has been to be an advisor to the exec team to ensure they're thinking strategically and that we hit our goals. This year, we want to do 100% growth to set us up for 600% growth in 3 years so we can have a big exit. Let's make it rain, baby. You can have fun with this, folks. Role. Your role is to act as an aggressive, growth-minded board member with deep expertise in the clean beauty industry. Interview me, asking 3 questions, but ask them one at a time to stress test our plan. Does it have the sufficiency to drive results? Are there holes in our plan? There are things that we should be considering. Your task is then, once you're done with the interview, to give us the top 3 areas our plan may not be sufficient and strategies to fill the gap. Now I'm going to move quick just because of time, but it literally already read the plan and it's already coming back with very clear details that it has read from here. And the question, what is your strategy to ensure that paid and organic marketing efforts scale efficiently without killing margins? Our ROAS is 7-1. We literally shut down ads because production can't keep up. Reorder rates are 2.67 times a year, and LTV grows year over year because we add more products and people buy them. All right, supply chains at max capacity, forcing you to shut down ads. You plan to increase internal production to 3 million units and contract manufacturing to 1.25 million units. What contingencies are in place if demand outpaces production again? How do you prevent inventory constraints from capping revenue growth? I don't have a good answer for that. We have purchased a new building for manufacturing, and we are working to expand the number of contract manufacturers, but it's still not enough yet. We need more yesterday. If it's bothering you that I misspelt words, it doesn't matter. AI already knows what I'm saying. Don't worry about it. Given that your supply chain constraints are your biggest bottleneck, how are you securing and diversifying manufacturing capacity fast enough to support hypergrowth? What incentives can you offer contract manufacturers to prioritize your production over other clients? Ooh, that's a good question. Have you considered acquiring or JV? Nope, haven't done either of these. Hadn't thought about 1 and 2. We have thought about number 3, working on it. All right, so here's the top 3 areas. Number 1, where it's insufficient. Supply chain bottlenecks will cap growth if not solved immediately. Biggest constraint is production capacity. Strategies. Pre-negotiate volume guarantees with existing contract manufacturers to lock in priority production slots. This right here, folks, no joke, literally, I'm sending this to the CEO after this. That was a huge unlock, as well as the joint venture. Never thought of it. I'm sending it to him right after this. Hiring and automation, yeah, that's already on the list. Over-reliance in product and paid marketing and no scalable organic growth engine. Fragile demand. Accelerate owned media growth. I don't agree with this because we're going to keep running this until it caps. No clear contingency for raw material security. Totally agree. Scaling means constraints. Secure multi-year supply agreements. Invest upstream. That's a good one. We have thought about it, but not at this level. So I just walked away with 3 clear call to actions of insights that we had not surfaced in the last meeting with the board. What have you learned so far? Put your answer in the chat box. What have you learned so far just watching this? I'm very curious to see what your thoughts are. Let's go. I'm with you. I am so with you. Right? Wow. So here's the thing, folks. You and I were using the same tools. Just context, role, interview, task. And I'm just focusing on the 20% that drives the 80. So now let me show you what it looks like to drive this through the company. Because again, folks, I'm not a tech guy. I'm a founder. I'm a CEO. I'm one of you. I just think strategically. And now I'm using AI to enhance me, not to replace me. So at a high level, I want to give you some vision of this. We have done research and figured out there are 5 different levels of maturity driving this into your organization. Level 1 is where most people are at. They're just focusing on building foundational competence with the team. A lot of companies are letting like your employees drive this. This is an executive priority. Effective immediately. You need to get your exec team trained on how to use this. It's like, because you can't describe color if you've only seen black and white. I don't need you to be the chief AI officer. I do need you to have a level of competence with this so you can cast a vision for the future, so you can define what your strategy is going to be, and so you can lead your organization. Once you do that, then you go for early adoption, where you start to expand it with some innovators and early adopters throughout the org. Then once you work the kinks out, you start to strategically expand across about half of the org. Once you work the kinks out there, then you go to optimize the current state. Then you get to go for full-blown AI-driven transformation. It all starts with the questions you ask. Instead of asking, how can I do this? Start asking, how can AI help me do this? I literally want you to get a sticky note and write, how can AI help me do this? And put it on your desk. I've had it on my desk for over a year. Because then every day you're going to see it and you're going to go, what am I doing right now? I'm reviewing financial statements. Oh, awareness of a potential use case. You'll then take action by writing the prompt. And if you focus on a good communication framework of context, role, interview, task, you will get a good result. And that is what is going to blast you through the entire adoption curve in 30 days. And it starts with a sticky note. Here's the key, folks. You've got to think strategy first, technology second. This is not about the technology. This is about you as a leader strategically wielding it in your organization. Now, why do you start now? This is a quote from Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google. And what he means by this is that literally every single aspect of your business is going to change in the next 5 years. As a CEO, if you were told that there is an outside force that is going to disrupt every single thing you know about your business, when would you want to prioritize preparing for that? Oh yeah, he said this a year ago. The clock is ticking. You cannot afford to wait any longer, because if you are not using this in every aspect of your business, you are not going to make it. Your biggest challenge is that your priority is to grow your business, not to be the AI expert. This is where I get to take the stress off you. I don't need you to be. I don't need you to be. You can let the tech people dive into the weeds, but you cannot delegate your vision. You cannot delegate your strategy, and you cannot delegate your leadership. So before you go hire a consultant who can just do it for you, you need to become an AI-driven leader yourself. And just remember, anytime you're hitting a ceiling of achievement in your life, you are just missing a person. I have found tremendous value in surrounding myself with a group of leaders who are thinking about this strategically, not tactically. Because as much as I know, the more I know how much I don't know. And so I want to learn from other people as well. And it's why all of my focus is on building the world's largest curated network of AI-driven leaders. Everybody's non-technical, but what unites us is a commitment to drive strategy in our companies and to share and collaborate how we do it. If that is of interest to you, we would love to engage with you and support you on the journey. At a high level, my biggest realization in becoming an AI-driven leader myself is that this is not about the tech. This is about you and who you can become. When I was a kid, I was bullied pretty significantly. And frankly, I grew up hating myself. Success became my drug. If I could be successful, then people would respect me. But what I realized, and really it did drive me, but when I exited the one thing, for those of you that have had an exit, you wake up the next day and you don't know who you are anymore. I lost my identity. And this is what actually scares so many people about AI, is they think it's going to take their identity, and it's because they attach who they are to what they do. My biggest realization is that you are you, not what you do. As an AI-driven leader, you have a tremendous opportunity to harness this technology to enhance what makes you, you, because it can never replace you. And that requires you to ask a very different question, which is, who can you become? That answer lies within you. Thank you, folks. I really appreciate you. If this has brought value, please check out the book. I appreciate you tremendously.
Thank you so much, Geoff, for this wonderful talk. And something that's also not about technology is our AI award. It's all about the best use case, not about the best technology. So it's not about technology, it's about the AI leadership that we are following here. But one last question before we have to move to the next speaker. Geoff, how do you overcome or deal with resistance to change?
I learned this from Gary Keller. Your job is to support people, not to save them. My job, and I put this in the book, we have to lead with empathetic strength. Lead with empathy, like strong back, open heart. And so when I see resistance to change, I just recognize that that's them protecting themselves. My job as a leader is to cast a vision for what that looks like in this organization and for them to see that I'm actually behind them and helping them develop the skills that will be valuable in an AI-driven world. But it's also a standard in our company. You're going to be AI-driven. AI is not going to take your job. Somebody who's AI driven will. And my job is to help give you the opportunity to become that person, to surround you with the resources to become that person. But it's up to you to become that person. And if they choose not to become that person, I will help them discover the next opportunity.
Thank you so much, Geoff. So take the opportunity, folks, become an AI-driven leader. And we are off to our next speaker. Thanks so much. It's been super valuable. You can continue the discussion in the chat, of course.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Geoff.